Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. We're super glad that you're here. Clint and I are ready to get in and talk. It's been a while, I guess, a couple weeks, hasn't it? It's
A lot
weird how
going
you get
on.
busy with stuff and the stuff you really like doing, sometimes you can't do. So we're glad to be back together. We're going to talk today about kind of this idea of how to produce a worship set, not just from going song to song, but like building moments in a song, crescendo, bringing the song down, bringing the song up, and really creating something that's interesting, but doesn't become a show. And it's a challenge to do. I've been in a lot of different places where sometimes we take a path that's just kind of straight and simple. And then other times we really produce it too much. And the stage becomes the thing people are just in awe of because it's so great. So we're going to talk about that. We'll probably talk a little bit about Clint's doing some MD. He just did a conference where he spoke, so we'll probably hear about some of that stuff, and then wherever else it goes, tangents
Wherever.
come and get us. It's totally fine.
Let it flow.
So, but we are glad that you're here. Please comment if you're enjoying the video, and let us know your thoughts. So, I played again, Clint. I told you this. I played again at church. I didn't tell him how long it was. If they watch this, they'll know. It was probably 9 years since I played.
Wow.
Church. Yeah. And got up there and played keys, and I did not. Rachel usually gives me the advice, don't mess it up. That's what she tells me. And I didn't. I didn't mess it up, though the Nord did get stuck twice on the pad.
Oh, no.
I had to click out of it, but I recovered. So anyway, that's what got me thinking about this whole production idea. And, my brain starts spinning when I'm just a nice little keyboard player back there. Clint, when you're not just the guitar player, you're thinking all that other stuff.
Right.
And the worship leader, Andrew Miller, so nice, so kind. I was at First Free Church in, I guess it's considered Twin Oaks area. I don't know what the city is. Anyways, here in St. Louis. So kind and so nice. Everybody was so gracious, and it was really fun. And he said, if you have any ideas or thoughts, I'd love to hear them. And that got me thinking about this. So that kind of what led me into this thing tonight.
Yeah.
So talking about production. Tell us a little bit about the convention you did before we jump in. We talked.
Yeah, that was just this past week. I got asked to number one event. Initially asked to play guitar for the team that was leading worship for the.
This was Grace Point.
This was Grace Point Church. They were hosting it. It was the Southwest Ohio Leaders Conference, and Grace Point was hosting it for all the area churches around Southwest Ohio. Since they were hosting it, they did the worship for it, and I was asked to sit in on guitar, and I MD'd for it. And another thing that came out of just kind of preparation for that is Jason and I, who you guys will meet eventually.
Yes. He's now this mythical character.
Yeah.
Jason.
Exactly. I was asked to lead a breakout session on just this idea, this concept of worship, and kind of really dig into what it is and what God expects as worship. And I brought Jason in because him and I have been kind of doing this sidebar study for almost 2 years now. Just keep talking through this and digging into what Scripture says about it. So we got to do that. It was a great session. We had a bunch of guys that were I felt like really engaged.
Leaders were coming in from different areas, and this was who was here.
Yeah, it was senior pastors, associate pastors, worship leaders.
That's great.
Those kind of guys from churches all over this area. So so we got to do that. It was a lot of fun. We've got some interest from guys after the fact saying, "Hey, I like this idea, this concept. I want to go deeper. Can we get together and do something?
Nice.
Take kind of a deeper dive." So we're working on that. Hopefully, maybe have some information on that later.
Cool. That's awesome.
So
that's great.
Good.
So you guys probably did like music breakout sessions, music breakout lunch kind of stuff.
Well, it was music
all day?
And then a keynote speaker.
Okay.
Music and a keynote speaker, and then there was a breakout session.
Okay.
And then another music keynote, because kind of like in three sections.
All right.
So
were you the music director for the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Man. That's awesome.
Yeah. They got a great group of people there. A lot of fun to work with, play with. So it was fun.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Yep, same. I didn't get to do a conference, but I had a great experience playing again. And
Yeah.
then he asked me to play again. I said no. So I did. It wasn't because I didn't want to. I just wasn't available.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
It'll
just
come
so
back.
busy. I can't play
I
anymore.
can't.
No,
Yeah.
it's with all this. I mean, I just
Well,
can't
ain't
do
it
it.
funny? I mean, you kind of mentioned it. It ain't funny once you go do it again. It's like all this stuff starts coming back to you
Yeah,
in
that's
your
right.
head and your brain is like, oh man, I forgot about this aspect of it, or I hadn't thought about this in
Yeah,
ages.
yeah, for sure.
So it's interesting to kind of dive back in, and
Yeah,
then even to watch some of the stuff that's changed. We kind of talked a little bit pre-record here about just some of the approaches that people are doing with just the tracks and the cues and just
right.
all the stuff that goes into. You said they're using the Ableton Live there.
Yeah.
I've worked with that, used that a little bit, and I don't know if it's just the old man in me or not, but I just like the run and gun approach. I like the,
Yeah.
there's
Well, that
nothing
brings me
better.
to a good point. That's a good thought. And I don't know if anybody from church is going to watch, and I'm going to say that you guys were fantastic, and I loved being with you. I loved playing with you. And I'm telling you, these guys, their tech production is like next level. They're doing some
Yeah,
amazing stuff.
awesome.
But as the music producer in me, I see things, right? And I hear things. So stuff's going to come out that I saw and that I thought that could be improved upon. And that's anywhere you go. I mean, when I was leading, people could watch me and say, oh, every week, hey, don't do this, add this,
Yeah,
change this, right?
right,
Because I talk to my kids about, Michael Jordan had a coach, Tiger Woods had a coach,
right,
the greatest athletes, Messi had a coach because they can see things from the outside that you
right.
don't see in the inside.
Yep.
And one of the things that came up was Ableton Live. And I'm not, I mean, I think it's kind of cool because they have stems. You can put in different pieces. Like we can add a pad here for this piece or a little looping thing on this section. And it was kind of cool, but here's what happened. This is one minor thing that I noticed. The click track, and this is difficult. So we're playing and this is kind of the stuff we're talking about. So kind of the idea of this cast was to talk about things that we do in church that can sometimes get in the way or sometimes lead us off the path of music production to where it becomes less than what it could be. It's not to say it's bad, but usually I'm watching and to the untrained ear, moments will pass and they won't think about it. But you and I will go, oh, that was a massive spot. We could have
Yeah,
really, something
yeah,
could have happened that was special.
yep.
One little thing. So you're playing to the Ableton track. The click is double time to keep you locked in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a slow song. So we got tick, 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 and I
Right.
can see the guitar player tapping to that, but the song is actually down, 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 down. But we're playing down, 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 but it's a slow song. Now that's a hard one because the click is pounding at you in double tick, 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 tick. Piano player is playing. So um, one of the things, if you are playing to a click track, the click is meant to keep you on tempo, and you should have those clicks in between. That helps a lot. Or if you're playing to a track, but you have to kind of separate from the click and play the feel of the song rather than the feel of the click. And they do have tracks that are kind of in the ears, but they get in the way because they're pretty loud. So
Yeah.
if you are playing to a track or stems or anything, make sure, and maybe you've seen this before. It's a small thing, but everybody was playing. I was like, I know this is a slow song, but we're playing it like it's an up tempo song, and it was because I know that click was doubled, and I always double the click too, just because it helps you stay on tempo on slow song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
small thing.
there's a the beauty of all these apps now is you can pick what click you want, right? So if you're if you kind of think if you do it once and you learn that lesson, next time cut that click in half
Cut it in
and
half,
give it some breathing room.
right?
Let the musicians. It is not a big deal for musicians and music to float in and out of that click. You know, you're going to come and go, and then you're going to catch up a little bit. As long as it does it as a band, it's effective, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of
They're not going to notice too much unless it's really
right, right.
shifting. Yeah.
Yep. And there's a lot of challenges with that. I was playing this past week, and um we were
You guys play
doing this song.
just straight click. No
We do
tracking.
straight click.
Okay. Yeah.
We for this past week, we actually did have cues in, and and I'm not sure why, but we had some cues in, and it was interesting that there came a point in this song. You were talking about moments. This is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get to. We were talking
Yeah.
about moments. There was this moment. We did "I Speak Jesus." You familiar with that
Yeah.
song?
Sure to go.
It's an awesome song.
Yeah.
And there was this moment. The song came down and ended, and the pastor began to pray,
Mhm.
and um, and his prayer was just such that I just really felt, man, we need to go back into a soft chorus of
Yeah.
that that I speak Jesus.
Right.
And but I wasn't quite comfortable. Keep in mind, I'm kind of new to this team,
Yeah.
and
You don't
and
just
even
shout
though
out, do that chorus again. Yeah.
yeah, even though I was
I know.
MD, I so bad wanted to say, man, just pick it back up. Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life. That
Yeah.
soft chorus, and let that flow through just
Uh-huh.
quietly, and let the people reflect on that moment.
Yeah.
And had I been a little more confident in just my position,
Hmm.
I probably would have done that,
Yeah.
because the leader, obviously, she could have flowed right into that, but I didn't want to disrupt, because I didn't really understand
Right.
the flow of what they were trying to do. And
Yeah.
that's all part of, you know, being a cohesive team, right?
Hmm.
When you play together a lot, and you get to learn how each other
Yeah. You know,
thinks,
one's coming.
you know,
Right.
then
So,
you can throw that stuff at them. That was kind of a moment that I thought I missed, just in my uh I was just I just didn't want to throw anybody off
yeah.
by moving that way,
Right.
and maybe, kind of freak them out. They wasn't expecting it. They
Or they
probably
don't
would have
get in,
pulled it
they
off
don't get on the
fine.
boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be too, but
No, I hear
it
you.
was
Those are the
good.
ones that get me the most, the missed ones.
Yeah.
And part of production is, um, part of production is being aware of those possibilities.
Hmm.
Like, you know, when it could come up. And then sometimes we would practice at practice. Sometimes we at rehearsal, I would throw those things out there at rehearsal and just say it. Just do this
Yeah.
again. Add this. Let's go back around again. To where they got used to failing at practice,
Yeah.
and we'd try it again. Then we got used to get better at it, get better at it. So when those moments would come up, they could do that. But for sure, if you're kind of still like, I don't want to step in.
Yeah.
We did have a moment where they started the wrong track when I played, and I'm playing right on. I'm locked, man. Tempo is me. And he's like, "Oh, hold on, that's the wrong song." I was like, "Oh," I said, "If you turn that click on, that's what I'm playing." So if it's
Yeah.
88 and it's supposed to be 78, I'm playing 88
I'm
because that's
playing
what
it.
it.
That's what it is.
Anyway, that
Yeah.
but yeah, whatever you're doing, I think you said it well, and this is what I think is for music. Um, music is not about. It's really about creating moments. I mean, think about think about if anybody's if think about your favorite song. You don't think if you're honest, you don't think about the song.
Right.
There's a part in it. I love that part when they
Yeah.
do that thing.
Right.
When, they play this particular thing or this particular line or this particular lead part or this particular melodic riff or particular and there what that is there's a moment there that builds to that, or it's a quiet moment or something, all kinds of classic. I mean, Sweet Home Alabama, that opening riff is like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
locked in. And there's whenever you're producing music, what you're trying to shoot for is you're going to a particular spot to create a moment. And they all can't be moments, because if they're all moments, then there aren't any.
Right.
And then you got to pull that back and
Mm-hmm.
wait and find the next one. Oh, there's one coming here. Get to that spot. Boom, there it is. And then we let it lay there. And that is done by being strategic with your who plays what and when. Now, how is Grace Point on? I know we're not going to call anybody out, but hey, we're all learning. How is
Yeah.
Grace Point? I have a thing called Wall of Worship. Wall of Worship, where like, okay, the song is on and we're all playing and we're all singing. It's
Mm-hmm.
3-part from beginning to end. And then they hit the bridge, they all come down, then they all come back for the last chorus, and then they all come out for the second chorus, and they all come back in, and then that's it. How are they? I mean, have you been stepping into production to pull people out and say, hey, guitar player, you're valued, but don't play it all on the first verse, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Very, very little.
Yeah.
They do a pretty good job, honestly. The leader there has done a good job of kind of directing and producing a lot of that stuff in the past. Now, what I see happening for the most part is they do a pretty good job of, like you said, bass layout, and you're going to come
Yeah.
in this half verse, and then the
Yeah.
drums are going to be,
Yeah.
they kind of know that stuff, and they do really well at it. What I see, and it's not just them, I'm not picking on anybody, but since I've been kind of playing back around with a lot of churches,
Mhm.
I guess the biggest thing I see that needs attention that goes into what you're talking about and describing is it's just this meter of you're at 25%, you're at 50%, you're at 70%,
Yeah. Yeah.
boom, your moment's 100%, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and understanding those, it's kind of what you said, right? The wall of sound is everybody's 100% all the time
Yes.
on the big moments. But uh, what I'm starting to do is try to coach them that not every big moment is 100%. There
That's
are
right.
big moments that are not your crescendo. It's not your climax. There is
Yeah.
one climax in a song,
It could
right?
actually there might be one in a set.
Right. There might be one in a set.
So you might be 80 up top on the first one, but the second one
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
hit that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So just this idea of kind of being conscious about, and I actually even started calling it out as I'm MDing.
Uh-huh.
That second chorus, I'm going 70%. I'm kind of
Yeah.
just as a little reminder of, hey, don't go all the way yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna build, and we're gonna get there, and we're gonna hit that climax moment.
Yep.
But if you hit that on the second chorus, then there's nowhere for the bridge to go.
That's right. It just
Um,
becomes you keep trying to get louder, but you already did it.
yeah, you're already there. There's nowhere to go.
That's right.
And I think that's important, just because when what you're talking about is producing music as a whole, as a set.
That's right.
Just what you said, you might only have 100% song or one moment in one set is okay, that's the moment
Yes.
where, everything completely culminates, but everything is a build to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with, the song choice, what's going on that week.
Uh-huh.
And I do think that just, the people, it's hard to, and we talked about this a bunch, and I'm not going to rehash it, but it's hard to get really strategic in those moments if your people are unprepared when they
Mhm.
come in.
Yeah.
If they're constantly watching charts and they just don't know the song or
Yeah.
whatever. So you almost have to guide them through every moment of every song, because you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, they're going to miss that, which is, not the best way to lead, but,
No. Well,
um,
we didn't have anybody calling out the parts of the song.
mhm,
We did play it with click track. We used to have a walkthrough every new song. I would walk through and I would say pencils, and because they didn't have iPads, or some of them did. I'd say, hey, let's start marking here. So I had to have. I'm a big Alfred Hitchcock movie fan. Alfred Hitchcock was unique in the way he directed movies, that he would already know. He would say he's already directed the movie before he gets on set for the first day.
Right.
So the storyboards were exactly what he was going to do. I want this shot from this angle for this scene. This line
Yeah.
is this angle. This is this angle. So I, as the leader, had to start with an Alfred Hitchcock mindset for the set. So when I
Mhm.
walk in with that song, I already know here's what I want to do on the verse. Here's what I want the guitar to do on the intro. Here's what the piano's going to do on the intro. The bass is going to do this. The guitar's going to do this. And I would map out. Sometimes I would send it ahead of time if I had it, but I would say, we want this or this or this. And we would walk through and mark them all up,
Yeah.
mark them all up.
Yeah.
And that would take 10 minutes or so. Verse, we want this kind of thing. And they would ask, you want to play diamonds here? You want to play? And they started having lingo, arpeggios. I said, no, you play diamonds right there. Keyboard, play this. And we would walk through the whole song that way. And everybody would take notes and then we'd go and we'd run it. And so you're absolutely right. Everybody you have to start with, some people would call that the map, but you have to start with what your plan is for the song. And it can't be, a lot of times it's just wing it, just show up. But to
Mhm.
really get a good production, you got to really be strategic. And I know that some people are like, well, I don't want to not play. I came here. Well, we are all, and I talked about this with our
Yeah.
team. I said, listen, you guys are valued. Everything you're doing is valued. But if you were to play 5 notes on this song and that's all you played, you know who
Right.
they would notice most?
You.
You, because they'd be like, he didn't play anything. That's it's really
Yeah.
tasteful. It's simple. Not
Right.
that you want to be noticed, but what I'm saying is, it's when you, they talk about stuff becoming wallpaper. If you put
Mhm.
something big and flashy up, eventually it just becomes standard. But if you change it, you put something small up and you change it again, something small up, it makes it an impact. It has an impact, and that's really what we want to do, is to be able to play our part in humility, however big or however small it is, to
Mhm.
make the whole of those moments and become something special.
Yeah.
Because it
Yep.
could be a really special thing if you guys, I mean, if everybody plays their part well. And
Mhm.
the hard part is knowing
Right.
somebody has to be able to, because not a lot of people know, like, hey, what's good here? What should be played here? Should the guitars play up octave? Should the bass come up octave? Should the piano be mid range? Should it be wider? Do we need a pad here? Should the pad lay out? So that kind of takes a little bit of know-how and understanding. And but if everybody is willing, you can really create great stuff if you're strategic, you know?
I think with the advent of cues and tracks and those kind of things, I think it's overall it's been good. It's been a really valuable tool for a lot of people, but in a
Yeah.
way, I think it's killed creativity
I think you're
be-
right.
because most of these places are pulling up a track
Mm.
and it's basically it's what already has been produced by the performer who
Yeah.
did it,
Yeah.
right, on the album or whatever. Um, you're probably like me, back in the day when you covered a song, you covered it and produced it with what you had,
That's
and
right.
it became your own. And even to the point where, well, hey, we're gonna throw this little movement in here just as a vamp or a little guitar break or a place for, whatever. So the creativity of that kind of stuff is what I really miss. It's
Yeah.
just the band setting and running it with really no direction and just starting to key off of what each of the players were doing. Drummer does something and it triggers me to play
Yeah.
something a little differently.
Yep.
Or the bass player does something and it triggers the drummer to do something. So those kind of production things I think are getting lost a little bit because people are just practicing what the track is, and that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure. It
But
allows people of a different skill level to
sure,
step in if you just learn it like that. You're right.
right. And I know a lot of churches are challenged with, having depth in their positions.
Yep.
You've got a certain amount of people and they have a certain amount of time to give and just all that stuff that goes into, trying to build that. But
That's right.
one of the things I really, really miss is just those I used to call them jam moments where we would be in a song
Uh-huh.
and it would just start to kind of have a life of its own,
Yeah.
based on the collective
Hmm.
whatever that we were doing,
Right.
and kind of making it our own, I guess,
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Those are fun times. Yeah, it's hard to get that. It's hard to get there when in the defensive churches when they have a lot of talent and you might be playing with this drummer, but you might not see him again for
right,
a month,
right,
and he's
yep,
great, really great, but you just don't. It's hard to get those connections
yeah,
when you don't.
yeah. There's kind of the two extremes, right? You're kind of in that position
Or
where, or it's you got a house full of Nashville players,
that's
and
right.
they come in and they just automatically groove, and you can throw anything you want at them,
Yeah,
as the song's going, and they'll just do it. Right.
yeah,
So it really, I mean, obviously it varies on the level of your talent that you have that's playing and all that stuff, but I just really believe that part of, as much as I'm about, we've talked a lot about, as much as I'm about local church needs to write their own stuff or
yeah,
should at least try,
yeah.
in some form. I think it's the same kind of thing. Your team is your team.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's not, pick your flavor, passion or elevation or whoever.
Right.
You don't, tracks are great, but you don't necessarily need all that.
No.
Make it, because here's what happens ultimately every time when you get into that rut of kind of filling in those things, even though you might have a keyboard player, bass player, guitar player, and a drummer, but you're leveling on these other pads
Hmm.
and these other three guitar parts, and
Yes.
even I've even seen people do background vocals.
Yep.
What happens is, number one, you're setting yourself up for a train wreck when something goes wrong, because in the middle of a song and it's this big
They
and
gave me the
something
kill
goes
switch, by the
crazy.
way. It's
Did
like,
they?
give me the kill switch on the first day.
Something happens, they get off, and you have to kill the track.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, it goes from this
If
big
it's too
to
big,
this
it's
big.
yeah, you can't do that.
you know, and but more than that, I think that your congregation gets used to this big sound, and then for some reason you don't run tracks one week, and then they don't even know. But I think it feels like,
What happened?
oh well, it wasn't quite as good as it usually is, and they
Yeah.
don't. And I don't say good that it's better, but it's different enough that I think people notice. So I think build your sound around your team and let that become the norm
Yeah.
for your congregation.
I think anybody that says, "Well, why does it have to be a show?" I would say, "Did you take a shower before you went to church?"
Right.
Why?
Why? Why do you have to smell good?
Because you don't wanna be a distraction. You don't wanna
Yeah.
be a goober, right?
Right.
Same thing. When you're up in front, you want it to be good so that everybody can
Yep.
participate. I was gonna mention a couple things about the nitty-gritty of production, which I've always found interesting, and not a lot of people know some of these things. There are 2 ways that you can create high moments and more specifically, low moments.
Hmm.
You can do it one of 2 ways. Everybody can play at a medium volume, or a few people can play at a loud volume, right? Or
Hmm.
everybody can play at a loud volume. And on quiet moments, everybody can play soft, or one person can play loud.
Right.
So here's what happens a lot of times when you want to get soft, and I'm sure you've seen this. If you're watching and you're producing music at your church, when the moment comes for the piano to play by itself, the piano player should not be quieter. The piano player
Right.
should play out
Right.
because he's by himself. So everybody's blah, 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 playing big, and then they're going to get soft. The piano player goes, "Na, na, na, na." But now
Right.
it's only the piano. It's too
Yeah.
soft.
Right.
So when I play piano, it's the exact opposite. If everybody's playing, I'm one of them. I'm kind of in. And
Right.
then when everybody stops, now I play louder and I play
Right.
more focused and more determined,
Yep.
locked in tighter
More
because
definition.
yeah, because because I'm the only instrument. And what happens then is, so we would struggle with it all the time. I'm like, okay, we're going to just have the acoustic play here. Everybody comes down, the acoustic guitar gets quiet. Like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
opposite.
No.
Not ever. We're doing low volume with smaller people, not with less volume. So if
Right.
everybody drops out, you just play full. It'll just naturally feel less, but the energy will still be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If everybody gets quiet at the same time, that works too. But it's almost easier to control if you want to
Yeah.
get quiet. Have everybody drop, but one instrument keeps going at a good volume, not a quiet volume, so that it doesn't completely.
Yeah.
Because if everybody gets quiet and it's a one piece, that's too little.
Yeah.
But if everybody goes out and one person stays loud, now it gives the feeling of quiet, but there's still a bed there.
Yeah.
So it's a valuable piece of production.
It is. Other pieces of that production is just having your guys. You already talked about. You kind of talked about mapping out ahead of time, let guys know what to play.
Yeah.
The thing that I think gets missed the most is, and I say this because I played it this past weekend.
Yeah.
The thing I think gets overlooked the most is bass guitar. The effect
Are you playing
that a
bass at
bass.
church?
Yeah, I played
Or
this
at the
past weekend.
conference?
No, at the church, the church service on Sunday morning. It was funny. It was one of those things that we had the discussion, kind of, whether or not to run the guitars in the track and stuff like that. And
I was the one who told him you should play bass. Remember on the podcast?
Yeah, that's right.
I was like, "Come on, get him on bass."
Yeah, she actually said, "You get to play bass this week." So that's awesome.
Awesome.
But part of the production is, I think sometimes, and I don't think you ever did this, but I think a lot of times teams will focus on what the piano player is doing and what the acoustic guitar is doing and what the electric guitar is doing, and they completely omit what the bass player is doing.
Yeah.
Done right, bass is an incredibly melodic instrument.
For sure.
It adds so much drive and groove, and it just can be so fluid through the song if you play it right. And
that's right.
And there's a lot of players that they kind of just know the basics, so they're hitting their 1 and 3 and they're rolling through the song, and that's okay. But if you have a guy that is a little more talented, encourage him, let him stretch out, put some of those runs in there, work those octaves and those bounce those fifths around as you're playing through a song. There's just all that kind of stuff that can really impact. And I think what that does, especially for a smaller team, is if all you have is an acoustic and a keyboard and a drum or a bass, your bass just added a fifth instrument.
That's right.
Because of the way he plays. He can fill up some of that void, and it really comes to play in those climaxes we were talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And helping to bring that music up and bring it down with just the intensity that he plays. I think the bass player will do more to carry that intensity than even the guitar player or the piano player.
That's right.
So I would just encourage people, think about that. Don't overlook your bass player.
Not at all, for sure.
Treat him as a melodic. I know him and the drums always looked at as well. They're the timekeeper, right? Yeah. And that's okay, but you can do whatever you want as long as you're back on 1 and 3, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
No, you're absolutely right. And if you're a piano player, you gotta, this is a big one for me. Don't step on the bass. Let the bass be the bass.
Did you see the meme going around?
You don't need you double octaving down there. Just let
Did you see the meme going around? There's a picture. There's a picture of a piano
laying on,
and that lower octave is taped off and said, "Stay off. We have a bass player."
We have a bass player. That's right. For sure.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. And I typically, when I play piano, I move my keys. I sit with my chair on the bottom 25%. But that's only because when I reach up to the top, it's a comfortable feel. When I play in the middle, I don't have to do, you can see my hands. I don't have to do this in the middle. So I'm playing in the middle. I put it so I'm sitting below some of my hand, but this pinky doesn't touch the keys very much. Not when I got a good bass player. Only on a build will I drop, boom, hit it, boom, boom, hit it, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 and I'm back off, and I'm up register, and I'm never octave. I'm like
Right.
C below middle C most of the time, maybe down a little bit lower, but huge. Don't and also, if I might add, don't step on the vocal either.
Mm.
If you have a female singer in that range, up to maybe high C or a little higher alto, then you play middle C and below. If
Right.
you've got a male singer singing in B flat, don't live all over middle C. Step above that so that when he's singing, that space is open for the vocal. Because if you keep stepping on it, and of course we talk about this, if you're a piano player and there's a vocalist singing, don't play the thirds.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little tip: stay off of the thirds, get above him, and only play thirds as fills. So if you're playing piano, guitar, same thing. If you're gonna fill when the vocal's playing, you're just keeping the thing going. Then when the vocalist stops, now you can touch the third, you can touch the second, but when he's singing, get back to those fifths. It just makes it more spacious, and the harmonies can come thirds,
Yeah.
and you don't step on if they're slow to get on that third or slow to get off of it, or if it's a little out of tune and you're off of it,
Yeah.
it gives more space. So yeah, stay off the bass for sure,
Yeah.
but then
Well,
also stay out of the way of the vocals. Get
yeah.
higher or lower or leave room because it
I
makes a
like what
big
you
difference.
said about the fifths, because so often when you play thirds and different things, just like you said, if a vocal is just a little late getting up to that note,
Mm-hmm.
what happens, and you don't even know you're doing it, but you're creating dissonance
That's
because you're
right.
trying to play. And a lot of these songs now, I mean, some of these melodies, they're kind of all over, and you got to be really careful not to step on those and just let that breathe out. And I think as a leader, I guess if I would, I think one of the most important things that a leader can learn is to understand and be able to explain um, sonic placement
Yes.
in a song, because you got these guys coming in, players, right? And maybe they're seasoned, maybe they're not. Maybe they've just been practicing in their bedroom, but all they know,
Mhm.
is this big G chord, or all they know
Right.
is, like you said, are these big heavy piano keys,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
or the guitar player or whatever. But when you talk about sonic space, do a little study and understand. Okay, there is a place for every instrument, and they shouldn't really step on each other, right? So if I got an acoustic guitar player playing down here in just these regular, G chords, D
Yeah.
chords, whatever,
Yeah.
down on the third fret, if I'm playing electric guitar,
You gotta step it
I'm
up.
I'm staying up an octave,
Right.
and I'm using these triads, or these, little 4-note chords up. I'm not even playing the E and the A string at all.
Yeah.
Just to sonically not be in his register.
That's great.
And the same for keyboard applies. You understand what register each instrument is in, and then work around it. Find your place in it, and it's going to
Yeah.
change with different songs, because the first thing you got to identify is what I always told my guys was, on every song we have one lead instrument, meaning the piano is driving this
Could be a
song.
piano song, guitar. Yeah.
Could be an
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
acoustic song.
That makes sense.
What if it's an acoustic song, that's cool. Stay down there and jam on those.
Yeah.
If the piano's living in that space and it's in G, capo up and play in C,
Mhm.
just so that sonically you're
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you're not crossing over those. And what that does is it eliminates the mud, and your sound guy is going to love you for this. If you get your band to do this, your sound guy is going to go, oh, it's so crystal clear.
And depending on how talented he is,
Yeah.
he might not know why.
Yeah. Yeah. He might not even
Like,
know. He might understand it.
and here's the converse of that is this: if you're stepping all over each other, one of you will be mixed out. You will just be turned
Exactly.
down. And again,
Because
depending
it's
on the
mud.
level of the sound engineer, he's just going to be thinking, I don't have any place for this. and he starts turning everything down to try to make room for the vocal. So if you're out of the way and your guitar's playing up here and your rhythm player is playing, the piano player's spacious, the bass player's in his spot, yeah, but whatever else is in there, and everybody's in their space and the vocal's in the middle, everything can kind of have its place and you can all be heard. If not, the engineer's going to be fighting with you the whole time. And I can tell you for sure that he's gonna, or he or she is going to win,
Yeah,
because they'll just take you out. And it might just be down, or they might using spots, but that's
right. But
100% true.
it does a disservice to the mix, because now you're not getting the full potential of the band.
It's another missed opportunity.
It's another missed opportunity. And
for sure.
I think so, some of this stuff is, I think it's incredibly easy to implement. It's just understanding that it needs attention, like the sonic stuff, right? It's like, we all get in a hurry when we run in and we just jam through a song and we punch it out. But if you can start educating your people on, hey, this is, and I've seen a lot of places now where they've got two electric guitar players.
Yeah.
And they're a lot of times they'll double up on those chords, or there's power chord, and
engineers picking one.
And the engineers picking one, and the other one's just getting left out, The other thing I want to say, this is kind of a side note, something I've learned since I've started playing again. And maybe it's just because you just don't see it in worship music a lot these days, but I've turned a lot of heads and got a lot of comments.
Did you play Stairway to Heaven during the offertory?
No, I didn't.
They were talking about Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder was actually Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Zeppelin was like, they were like ahead of the curve. It was a Christian song. You didn't know
that? No, but one thing that I think worship music is just missing out on is they've just completely forgotten the power of the power chord.
Yeah.
On electric guitar with a nice heavy crunch,
For sure,
we used to say, does it chug, right?
Yeah.
Well, done correctly. Now, you might not want to power chord your way through an entire song, but a lot of these songs that have bridges and they got these builds going on, and the drums is on the snare and the toms going.
Right.
Man, you drop down on that little muted power chord and just let that chug through there and build that intensity.
For sure.
And you don't have to do the whole song, but there are parts in a song where that can be really, really effective.
Yes.
In building to that climax. And then there's nothing better than just a huge strum on a power chord and just let that ring out when that kind of climax explodes,
For sure. Well, and that's part of the keys playing in those fifths. You don't play thirds. You just, that power chord becomes all
power chords,
sweet
1-5-1, right?
Get out of the
It's
get
really
out of the
simple.
3 and just let it play. Let it.
Right.
It's my shape here, right?
Yeah.
That's my 1-5-1 shape.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah. That raised another point here, because you mentioned chunk. Whatever instrument you're playing typically has two components. It has a tone, and it has a rhythm. A tone and a rhythm. And not only do you produce your music so that it's tonally spacious, you need to produce it so that it's rhythmically spacious. If the bass player is doing dum 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 dum, the piano player does not need to play dang 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 dang.
Right.
The piano player should probably play way less. If the guitars are playing ding 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 ding, and the bass player is dum 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 dum, then the piano player should play this ba do do da ba da da ba, because there's space. If the guitar player is playing dong dong, then you got a piano player that can play do da 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 do 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 bo. So if there's somebody, just ask yourself this: if you're on your worship team, and I know maybe you're learning tracks, but if you're in the moment and you're playing chords and you're not comfortable, and you have a rhythm player who's playing full on, don't play that.
Yeah.
If somebody else is playing fast and heavy, you should play spacious and wide. If somebody else is playing spacious and wide, then you can fill in that space with something more rhythmic. And what it does is it just gives everybody their space. We had this come up at church. And again, I'm not calling anybody out because it's a very common thing. They were playing that rhythm of a particular song, and everybody was playing the rhythm. But we didn't need it because we had the drummer over there playing the rhythm. We had the bass player, had the rhythm guitar player, had the electric guitar player, had the piano player, all playing the rhythm. If somebody would have just stepped out of that and gotten real high or real spacious and just played a simple thing,
Right.
then each instrument would have had been more important. As it was, they all became equal, and then they all became just the
Just
similar
becomes
thing.
muddy.
Yeah, and then now we don't have
There's
no builds or anything.
definition.
Because if you add that piano back in as a rhythm, now you've taken it up a notch. You've kind of mixed it up. So sonically, you need to space so that everybody has their space. And they used to say melody is king. When you're in worship music, what you're saying and singing and the church's place has to be the most important thing there. So it comes out. But then the rhythm as well. If somebody else is doing something rhythmically, then you shouldn't do that. Don't do the same thing. Now there are moments where you want to build, right? You can do that.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you're on a verse, especially on a verse, if somebody's playing something busy, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Find something else to do. And if you listen to these tracks, that's mostly what you're going to hear. You'll hear somebody driving the rhythm. The piano will not be doing the same thing generally. It'll have spacious, and the bass might be following that just to keep, because the bass and the guitars are connected by octave. They might have that going. But usually you got to consider the rhythmic part of your instrument and the sonic part of your instrument so that they're both doing their role, right?
Yeah. Start to think of it as, once you define what your lead instrument is for that song, say it's the piano, is the core rhythmic instrument or driving that song.
Yeah.
Besides bass and drums, everything else becomes an auxiliary instrument.
Yeah.
For that, because you can't have three different instruments pounding away on the same thing. Just what you said.
It's just
so you just think, if you're thinking about stacking, define your primary and then treat everything else as an auxiliary.
Yes.
And then let them build on top of each other.
Yeah.
Pick your moments, pick your places.
For sure.
And it'll just come out much cleaner. And
it'll sound more
defined.
professional. It'll just sound like more polished if you're all
right.
Somebody said, I said, "Oh, you make it look so easy." I said, "It's because I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing any like very.
151."
I told Andrew, I said, "Listen, I try to see how little I can play, how much space I can make. So when there's space, I would play little fills and stuff. But I said, if you want me to do more, just tell me." Or probably you're going to think, why are you not playing at all? Whole verses, I'm just bang.
Yeah. Let it sit.
Chord, bang. The vocal sings, and I would go, bong, bong, bong. Just because that's not necessary.
Right.
And while I want to bring this up too, because I think it's really important. We're talking about the music production, and we wanted to make it done really well. But I think what we're all doing as a band is trying to get the church to engage with us and to sing and to be a part of it.
Right.
So if you present something that is of a certain, not quality is not the right word, of a certain busyness or presence or pitch, you're going to rule out your church. They're going to be in awe of you and watch. If you don't ask anything of your church, they're not going to give you anything back. So there should be moments where nothing happens. Nothing happens but them.
Yeah.
They should be able to hear. They should feel like they are a part of what you're doing. And if they're not engaged, then your production is wrong and you're not doing it right. Something is wrong. If they're not, and you have to stop the train. You have to shut the thing down and go, hold it. Wait a second. You guys we need to be together here.
Mhm.
Bring everybody in so that means the music has to get softer, the piano has to play, you have to invite them in, give them moments where their voices are heard.
Right.
And that goes back to not blowing away with, 3-part harmony all the time. It
Mhm.
goes back to making sure the melody can be heard. And
Right.
some churches culturally, it's fine. You want to vamp on the thing and you want to do runs and all this stuff. Just know that when you do that, the people start listening, thinking, "Man, that's really good. They're so good."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but they don't know what to sing anymore.
But
You
then
know
they
what I
also
mean?
get lost.
They
Yeah.
don't they don't have a part.
We
It's
would, well, when we had some songs like that, and one thing we did to try to, because I'm all for somebody being able to, you know, do those runs and to if it's done well, it can be very impactful. But
can be.
if that's all you're doing,
Yeah.
like you said, then they don't know what to do. So what we would do is, if the lead vocalist decided to do that, we always compensated with another lead vocalist. So
Somebody else had to take it.
make sure the lead's there,
That's right.
doing the primary lead line,
That's right.
and then let that vocalist dance around if they want to. And that can be really powerful, right? That can
Yeah.
bring a lot of inflection to a song. And
That's a good thought. Make sure there's somebody to take that so that the church knows
right,
where to anchor their voice
right.
because they don't know
Because as
what to
soon as they
do.
stop doing that, the church just stops singing because they kind of lose their,
Where am I?
yeah, yeah, they
My
lose
wife
their
is a
anchor.
perfect example. She could sing with the radio. She's actually naturally sings harmony. I don't know why. It's listening like you're singing harmony. I am. Yeah, it sounds good. But that's because that's what she's hearing, whatever for whatever reason. So in church, if the person starts vamping, she's not exactly sure where I fit anymore.
Mm, yeah.
And so if you don't, and that's good to replace it with someone else. That's fantastic. I thought of something else I was going to mention. It's not music production, but it has to do with leading. Um, and I got this from studying acting a little bit, and it's kind of a powerful thing. When actors are, and this is like I forget, like one of these Helen Mirren or one of these big time actors talking about movement and stillness, movement and stillness. And what they would do is they would say, if you want your movement to have an impact, to matter, you have to precede that movement with stillness. Because if
Yeah,
you're always moving, your movement doesn't have any meaning anymore.
yeah,
So if you're going to move forward, get louder, put your hands out, clap, jump, it should be strategically preceded by stillness. If you watch if you watch musicians they have moments where they're still,
yeah,
and then movement happens, but it's not
right,
all just crazy.
right,
Sometimes there's a moment where it's just this, it's just
yeah,
still, or it's even just this quiet. And then the perfect example, I know you weren't a big, huge fan of this, but remember the old gospel quartet guys, Gold
mhm,
City and these guys?
yeah,
Do you remember? We've gone to a lot of those shows, but I will never forget watching them come on stage. You know what they would do? Their first song, they didn't move
nothing.
nothing.
They
Like
stood there on 4
they're
mics.
literally standing there, and then all of a sudden they would pull it out, and one guy would walk over, like, oh,
Yeah.
another guy would
"Whoa,
come
what's
over.
going on?"
They had just perfectly still. I never forgot that. And so when if you're a leader, if you're a lead singer, if you're a not a lead singer, be aware of your posture and your movement. I wish I could stand up and show you. But we all have habits. I used to watch video of myself and I would look
Yep,
to my left all the time.
yep.
We all have habits. One of the habits we do is we just instinctively get small on stage.
Yeah,
It has to do with something about struggling with humility or pride, but I see it all the time. Guitar players, singers, their legs come together, they get small, their shoulders get hunched and they lean forward. But what you really need in those moments is moments of complete width and height and wideness and stillness so that when you come back in small again, it means something. If you're always small, it feels mousy. If you have moments where you're expanded out and you come forward and you're wide and you're calm and you're still. Then when you move, even if it's a bounce move, it carries weight. If you're always bouncing like this, I see this all the time, bounce like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't, after a while, it doesn't feel, it just feels, so, so add, no matter where you are, if you're a guitar player, if you're a piano player, a bass player, singer at any, whatever, add stillness and movement and size and big and small. If you strategically add those things, it makes a huge difference in your presence. It feels like you're a part of something and not just kind of doing. There's the idea of you're doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. You're doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. What you think you're supposed to be doing is holding the mic with one hand, patting with your left hand, and keeping time with the music. That's what you think you're supposed to be doing. But that's not what you should be doing. There
Yeah.
should be moments where you do nothing. There should be
Yeah.
moments where you're loud or you're bigger or smaller. And that only happens when you plan it.
Right. When you think about it.
We try to think, oh, I got to be spontaneous. I don't want it to be too planned, but then it doesn't look right because it's not. So
Because it's not rehearsed.
yeah, practice your stillness and your movement.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's going to feel better. And then eventually you won't think about it anymore because
Yeah.
you'll know that if I'm still in this moment, this quiet moment, if I'm still and I sing completely calm and I just sing, hand to my side, just sing. Then when this hand goes up, something. And then when you take 2 steps forward and you reach out, now they can
Yeah.
feel it. It has an impact.
You're almost, as a leader, you can almost direct the energy up and down of the song just by those movements.
For sure.
The way you act and and here's something that I wish more leaders would do. Jason used to do this. He was so good at it. Turn around and just play to your team. Sing to your team. Interact with your team.
We did that
do
too.
This.
We did that
And
too.
I tell you what, I wish I had prepared a clip for it. I think we do have a recording of it, but this last week when we were doing the conference thing, Heather was leading and we were doing a song, and there was this one part where it was just this huge crescendo, and then it broke out into just vocals only for like half a chorus, and then
cool.
And then the band come back in on this thing, and it tickled me to death. I got such a kick out of it because when the band got ready to come back in, she come running back toward us, just kind of pumping her fist in the meter of when the band was coming in, and it was really dramatic.
Yes.
Part of just the excitement of, the crescendo of the moment.
Awesome.
It's just the way, I mean, you're absolutely right. If you stand there and lead, here's the thing Jason used to say, your congregation will never, ever, ever, ever go anywhere if you don't go there first.
Yes.
They will never raise their hand if they don't see you in that moment, raising your hand.
That's right.
Or getting excited a little bit, or, walking across, and kind of playing off of your drummer or playing off your guitar player. All that stuff here's the way I look at it. Some people look at it and go, oh, well, that's, you're starting to create a show. Well, no, these are just 5, 6, 7 people that love to play together, and they're in their element, playing together and enjoying what each other is doing.
Yeah. Right.
In that moment. And that's okay.
It is.
That just has to be okay. We can't pigeonhole people into, you can't get too excited now. Don't go crazy.
Yeah.
Jumping up and down, or whatever. But yeah, you're right. You got to take them there first. You have to do it first.
And let me just speak to this because you mentioned this idea of a show. What I'm describing to you, some people would say is acting. And I would say you are 100% correct. It is. Because a pastor said to me one time, he said, "You don't have the luxury to be 100% yourself on stage. That's not your purpose there." Because he was talking to me. He said, "You are a soft-spoken, humble um, person. You're not. I'm not super outgoing." He said, "You don't have. Our church needs somebody to stand up there and pull them into this and lead them. You
Yeah.
don't have the luxury to be quiet and stand in the corner. You have to stand up and be what our church needs." So,
Expressive.
yeah, and in that moment, if I would begin to think ahead, like, oh, so the reality is, we talked about this with some friends in college. When you step in front of people, you need to live out what is true, not what you feel.
Hmm.
You can't. If I stepped on stage and did myself, that would be incredibly selfish because
Yeah.
I'm doing what's comfortable. What I
Right.
need to do is step on stage and do what's true. That is,
Hmm.
if God says, if the Bible says, raise your hands, clap all you people, if I'm
Right.
sitting in the congregation, I won't do it because that's not me.
Hmm.
If I'm on stage, I will. And it's not fake. It's because that's what the truth is. And that's what my church needs to see in
Right.
this moment.
Yeah.
So when you guys do that, that is helping your church see a moment or create something that happens in that moment that can elevate them to respond. And it's
Hmm.
all designed to point us back to Jesus. That's the point.
Right. Right.
And we can't be hiding. We have to be not reflective. We're deflective. I'm not reflecting back to you. I'm deflecting you upward. So when you look
Right.
at me, I want to push you upward. I want to get your
Right.
attention going up, but I have to be a focal point. Somebody has to be a point to do it. And I do that by strategically planning out. I plan out what I'm going to say. I plan out what I'm going to do, even when I'm going to be still or when I'm going to move, or those are the kinds of things that I
Yeah.
think a production needs to be concerned with. Don't
Right.
let don't get everything all in a row and then forget about the fact that how are you going to stand on this song? Where are you going to walk? How are you going to address this part or this part? I think those are important because the way you move is almost in some ways is more important than what you
Right.
say. Because if you're saying stuff that's really meaningful, but you're down here and thank you, Lord, for this. If you're
Right.
saying that, it should be up here. Hey, we're so glad you're here. Thank you, God, for this day. You got to be physically in
Yeah.
on stage who your church needs. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So musically,
Absolutely.
physically, and that's cool when you say that because I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Because you love playing, and but people like to see people who like to do it. Nobody
Right.
wants to watch somebody on stage who's miserable.
Well, and I mean, energy breeds energy,
Yeah.
just does. When your congregation starts to catch a little bit of that liveliness from the leader and
Hmm.
even from the band,
Yeah.
when you're enjoying what you're doing and it shows,
Hmm.
they get a little looser,
They do.
they just do. They just get a little looser. They get a little more comfortable and, oh, well, he's kind of bouncing up and down. Well, I can bounce up and down.
That's right. I don't have to be so
I can clap my hands. I
tight.
can,
That's right.
and part of worship should be. It's funny. It's part of this study, Jason, and I've been going through. Is it seems like in every situation of worship in the Scripture, there's a posture change. There is a
Yes.
um, and it. I think it a lot of times can speak directly towards raising your hands,
Hmm.
bowing down,
That's right.
on your knees,
Yes.
on a posture change goes a long way in helping you get get deeper into that moment where you're actually recognizing God and thinking through the thankfulness and even to the point of, there's always a call and response. There's always a realization of who God is, what God has done for me. Now, what's my response?
That's right.
And I think a lot of times a posture change helps you get to that place where you
I'm
can
looking for a quote that goes on with that.
begin
Something.
to
Yes,
where you can begin to give up and begin
for
to
sure.
really think about what is my offering in this moment. You know, we can talk about what worship is as a whole and through your daily life and all that kind of stuff. But in corporate worship, I think there should always be a moment where you're considering in this moment, what is going to be my offering to God? And it could just really simply just be a, a heart of gratitude. You know, God, I'm just so thankful for what you've done. Or it could be, you know, God, I've sinned against you. I have to think about this. I have to reconsider my actions or
Yes,
the sin in my life or whatever it is. But I think posture has a lot to do with it. And I say all that being the guy who's probably the most less animated guy ever. I've just never been, you know, really animated
that's
either
right.
in my playing or when I sit and worship.
It's personality, yeah, right? It's
It's
kinda we are.
I'm very introverted, and
Yeah,
it's, you know, for whatever reason, as much as I know and understand about worship, it's hard for me to sit and raise my hands during a song. I don't know why. That's just part of who I am, and I'm working on getting past that because now I understand worship is usually accompanied by a change in your posture, and that can be important. So if that's
absolutely.
what it is, then I'm doing a disservice to God in my offering to Him. You
Yes.
know,
Well said.
not that it always has to be that,
No,
but there are those moments.
should be something.
And if you're like me, you know when you miss those moments, it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
You've chosen not to.
I've chosen
Yeah,
in that moment not to raise my hands or
not to.
not to hit the ground on my knees.
And we
Or
always have a really good reason. I
yeah, we
don't wanna
do.
be a distraction. I don't wanna be a distraction. And the
Right.
question is, so we've talked about this with repetition, right?
Hmm.
Why do we not like repetition? I would argue that it's our sinful nature because we want something new. Why do we not do certain things in worship? It's because we're made, we are bent toward a certain thing naturally. I'm not that guy. So, but you know, my natural self is bent towards sin. I try to avoid that. So when you say I'm working on that, I think that's the better way because a lot of people just say, well, I'm just not that way. Well, you're just not holy either, right? Well,
Well,
we're working on
look at
that
it this way.
because it's a part of you that you want to do better at. Yeah.
I would, if you're one of those guys like me out there, and I've been that guy for 30 years that said, "Well, that's just not
Is
me."
that
You know,
right?
I'm an introvert,
Yeah.
and start thinking of it in this realm of, hang on, I might be missing out on something
Mhm.
because I'm not even willing to try. I'm not willing to, and when I think that I haven't thought completely through it, but I'm starting to think that the reason the posture change is so important is because you're opening up a vulnerability of yourself
Mhm.
in order to honor God. And what I mean by that uh, is anybody watching me? They're gonna think I'm weird.
Mhm.
You know, if I just fall on my knees and start praying right now, am I going to be that
Yeah.
weird eccentric guy?
Yep.
You know, or you know, and there's all different levels, right? You know, you got to decide: are you going to do the, you know, the palms up, the
Yeah.
half up, the all up, one arm?
All the
What
way up. Right.
am I going to sway? Am I, you know, and just just get that stuff out of your head and just in those moments say, God, whatever it is, if it's honoring you, I'm open
And even if it's a
to
command, which
yeah. If it's a
which
command, you might, you know.
freaked my kids out at Easter one year because we were going to this church up in Wisconsin. I think I did. Anyway, we show up at Easter. It was great. It was great. It's a nice church, big church.
Mhm.
And we, for some reason, found ourselves in the front 4 rows or something. And they had this really big curtain and they did great production. We can cut it down. We'll stop here in just a minute, but they had really great production. And then they started doing this song. It's like, really? It sounded just great. very worshipful, very engaging. Curtains opened up, it swelled, it just built to a moment, and the church is all sitting. And I was like, there's no way. I stood up. I was the only one in the entire, there's 3,000 people there. I'm in
God.
like the fourth row. So you could just, I stood up and put my hands straight up above my head like this and stood up and started singing. And you know what happened?
Everybody stood up.
Every single person stood up. They were just waiting for one, because the stage, they were already up and singing. They didn't say, get up. And they knew when you do that at a church, you know, there's certain times you don't have to say, it's just going to. I was going to read this quote from John Calvin, the church in Wisconsin, very Calvinistic church. And it's odd that sometimes, you know, Calvinists are a little more conservative on movements and outwardness and Holy Spirit stuff, right? And I used to share this quote all the time from John Calvin, which I think is fantastic. And we can end with this because it's so great. And that's exactly what you're saying. This is what he said. The inward attitude certainly holds first place in prayer. And I was talking about prayer here, but you could apply it to music at church, being together as a congregation. The inward attitude certainly holds first place in prayer, but outward signs, kneeling, uncovering the head, lifting up the hands, have a twofold use. First is that we may employ all our members for the glory and worship of God. Secondly, that we are, so to speak, jolted out of our laziness by this help. There's also a third use in solemn and public prayer, because in this way, the sons of God profess their piety and they inflame each other with reverence of God. But just as the lifting up of the hands is a symbol of confidence and longing, so in order to show our humility, we fall down on our knees. Fantastic. It's what you said. It is, we employ all of our members for the glory and worship of God. Second, we are jolted out of our laziness. It's odd how when you put movement, your mind begins to follow and you become more in. And the third is that we inflame our brothers and sisters to do the same.
That's awesome.
And it usually takes just one or two people to step up. And if you're doing it from the front or from wherever you are, so if you're in the band and you're putting your hand up or you're stepping forward, you are doing all of those things. And sometimes, in fact, most of the time for me, I have to do it as an act of obedience, not because I feel it. It's usually a choice. But once I do, like Calvin says, it jolts me out of my laziness and my mind follows.
Right.
So don't be afraid.
So good.
Yeah, it's awesome. As you said the same thing, just in different words. So anyway.
Yeah. I'm not as educated as him. I can't say
Calvin's
this politically.
Right. He said, I just put my hands up and said, thank you, God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, man. This has been good. Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I had time covered up. I see we're a little over today, but that's okay.
It's all right. We're going to go another hour. No, I'm just kidding. Well, hey, we really appreciate y'all being here with us. If you were here, please leave a comment. Tell us what you thought. Give us some ideas and tell us some stuff we could talk about, or some things that you disagree with, or something that you do like. That would be great too. And we always want to encourage you to be loving and kind, because we are in this together. And as Paul says, we're all seeing through a glass darkly until God reveals all of the things that were true the whole time. And we want to approach everything with humility and love. But we're glad you're here. So please let us know what you thought. If you would, please like the video. If you could, hit the notification and smash the like button. That helps us get traction and get people to watch. All right. We are so glad that you came, and we hope that this will be a blessing to you in your church and whatever ministry you're in. All right. Awesome. Come and see us next time. God bless you.
See you guys.